Hello, my name's Steve Sutcliffe and welcome to what I reckon will be a thoroughly intriguing comparison test with Tyre Seeker.
Because in this test we'll be comparing the best mid-range touring tyres, then seeing how they perform against a premium touring tyre from Bridgestone. From GT Radial we're testing the SportActive 2. From Hankook we've got the Ventus S1 Evo 3. From Toyo we're trying the Proxes Comfort, and from Yokohama we're testing the BluEarth-GT AE51. Our benchmark premium tyre is the excellent Bridgestone Turanza T005. As ever, we bought all our tyres from an independent retailer to ensure complete neutrality, and the size we chose is a 245/45/18, which fits anything from an SUV to a family saloon, including, of course, our BMW 530D test car. We put our tyres through all kinds of tests, through wet slaloms and on the wet circle, under brakes, and to assess ride quality. But our main focus, as ever, was on real-world feel on and around the wet and dry handling tracks. Right then, GT Radial on the wet handling track first. Let's see how these more affordable tyres perform compared to one another, and then later on against the Bridgestone.
I think this is the first time I've ever driven on a GT Radial, and okay, I've got to be honest, it's not as bad as I thought it might be. You need a lot more room in which to slow down, otherwise the ABS just goes on the way into every corner. And there ain't the mid-corner grip, there ain't the turn-in bite, there just isn't the grip, full stop. These things I didn't expect much from, and I'm not getting much from them, but they're a fairly affordable tyre and it's not doing anything really nasty or spooky. It's okay, you just haven't got as much grip, simple as that.
Same thing this time on the Hankook.
Right, this is a bit interesting because I'm on the Hankook, which is a kind of medium budget touring tyre, not a premium touring tyre. And the Hankook has just done a lap time that has put the cat right amongst the pigeons. I really rather like this tyre. There's nothing wrong with it and there's an awful lot to like about it. It's nice and predictable. I really like it under brakes. It's got great traction, good turn-in bite, and it's got proper grip mid-corner. It hangs on. I am well impressed with the Hankook. It's pushing the genuine premium brands so hard and doing so well against them, and in some cases actually beating them. Well done, Hankook. This is a great tyre in the wet.
Then I switched to the Toyo Proxes.
Alright, here is another surprise, possibly an even bigger one. These Toyos are excellent on this wet track. Under brakes, traction, turning, the sharper, slower corners, where you just want kind of bite from the front end and then traction on the way out. They are excellent, these tyres, for the money, for the reputation. I'm blown away by them. These tyres are as good as most of the premiums. I can't really say any fairer than that. They're blinding. Can't wait to see what they're going to be like on the dry track, but we will find out shortly. In the meantime, here is a little bit about our sponsor.
At etyres.co.uk, they sell tyres. Lots and lots of tyres. They don't care who wins our group tests though, because they sell all kinds of tyres, but they do sell them at the best prices you'll find anywhere on the internet. So do yourself a favour if you fancy buying any of the tyres we feature in this test. Click on etyres.co.uk because you won't find better prices anywhere else on the internet. Right, back to the comparison test.
And then you try a set of tyres that don't cost as much as the premiums, like the Yokohamas, and you realise that in fact you do get what you pay for. It's got very little traction compared with the best premiums and the best mid-range budgets, the Toyos and the Hankooks. It's got not a lot of stability under brakes. It's not really any good through this slalom. Halfway through the slalom it starts to lose the back, and then through the steady state corners it ain't great. It really ain't great. And with the traction in the SP on, it just won't give me any throttle anywhere. It just understeers most of the way around the track, or oversteers, or both at the same time. Yeah, not a great performance from the Yokohamas, I have to admit.
So our mid-range tyres did okay on the wet handling track, the Toyo and Hankook performing especially well, but there was a clear gap between these two back to the Yokohama and GT Radial. But look, let's be clear about this. On the same track, using the same 5 Series on the same day, the Bridgestone Chiranza T005 was over 2 seconds quicker than the best mid-range tyre, the Toyo, and it was almost 6 seconds faster than the worst, the Yokohama. So you really do get what you pay for in the end, especially in the wet. So then we swapped to the dry track and did the same thing again, having seen similar results from our tyres in the wet braking and wet circle tests and through the wet slalom. But surely the dry track would produce a very different set of results from the wet track. GT Radial first again, let's see.
This GT Radial is really not doing too badly around this track. I mean, it doesn't have the bite and the stability and the, just the outright grip of the premium touring tyres of exactly the same size. But it's not a massive difference, I have to admit. It just makes the 5 Series feel as if it's, it's just carrying an extra maybe 100 kilograms around with it. The front end doesn't have the zip and the crispness to it. I definitely need a little bit more space to slow down in under brakes. And during direction changes, you can tell how much softer they feel. But it's not horrendous. I wouldn't just, it's not, take them away, I don't want these tyres. They are perfectly okay, they're just not brilliant.
Okay, same again, but this time on the Hankooks.
Okay, I've got to be totally honest here, I'm well impressed with the Hankooks. They feel as good as, not quite the best premium touring tyres, but not far off. It's got nice ultimate grip to lean on, exactly where it is, front and rear. The way it gradually lets go is a really nice characteristic. It's excellent under brakes, and it's got really good traction too. Makes the steering feel nice too, does the Hankook. Just a good tyre. End of story.
That's a strong showing from the Hankook then, but how would the Toyo get on in the dry, having been the best performer in the wet?
I wasn't quite sure what to expect from the Toyos in the dry, but they're actually really pretty good. Decent grit mid-corner, absolutely no question about that. Nice bite and crispness under brakes. You need to let them settle a bit when you brake hard and then load into a corner. But I haven't really got an awful lot to complain about and a lot to admire about them, because I'm also setting really nice consistent lap times on them, and that's always a really good sign that the tyre is doing exactly what you want it to do. Impressed. Very much impressed with the Toyos.
Yokohama next. How would that go in the dry?
Do you know, I expected more from the Yokohamas. They weren't very good at all in the wet. And as a result, I thought they might really kind of come into their own around the dry track, but it's just not happening. They're okay, but they haven't got as much grip as the Hankooks, for example. I don't think they've got as much grip as the Toyos, full stop. They feel a bit soft. The steering feel has gone a little bit west since we put the Yokohamas on. I trust it everywhere. It's not a kind of unsafe tyre, but it's just not really lighting the score sheets up anywhere. It's kind of okay, and that's about it. I thought it would be better on the dry track, the Yoko.
As ever, the stopwatch doesn't lie, and it showed the Hankook was in a league of its own, with the Toyo and Yokohama a distant second, followed closely by the still respectable GT Radial. Once again though, none of these more affordable touring tyres could match the Bridgestone equivalent in the dry. The Chiranza T005 posting times that were faster and more consistent than all of our touring tyres. So there are two conclusions to draw at the end of this test. 1, how good the Hankook is overall. 2, how much better a premium tyre performs, especially in the wet. So the excellent Hankook wins, followed closely by the Toyo Proxes. But look, if you want the very best from a touring tyre and are prepared to pay a bit more for it, a top tyre like the Bridgestone Turanza T005 is still the one we'd recommend overall.
Cheers for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this comparison test. And remember, do check out etyres.co.uk because you won't find better prices for tyres anywhere on the internet. Stay safe and see you next time.